In this video, we'll be going over IRS Form 1099-LTC, Long-Term Care and Accelerated Death Benefits. This informational tax form is provided by insurance companies and viatical solution providers to any policyholder for whom they have issued either long-term care benefits or accelerated death benefits as part of their long-term care plan. So we'll go over this form. You don't need to do anything to file this form. However, you may need to report some of these proceeds on IRS Form 8853, which covers Archer, MSAs, and long-term care proceeds. So this is a fairly brief form. There are 4 copies. Copy A goes to the IRS. Copy B goes to the policyholder. Copy C generally goes to the insured if they are separate from the policyholder. And then copy D is retained for the payer's tax records. So you may find instructions for you as the policyholder, and if you receive this form as the insured, you may find different instructions for the insured. Generally, the insured recipient is only receiving this as informational purpose for informational purposes. If they are not the policyholder, then generally the proceeds are not considered taxable income to the insured. If the policyholder and the insured are the same person, then you may simply receive a copy B that covers everything. So in this form, we're going to cover first the left part of the form, and then we'll go to the right part. So at the top of the form, you see the payer's name. In this case, Acme Long-Term Care Solutions. You'll see their taxpayer identification number, which will generally be an employer identification number. To the right of that, you'll see the policyholder's tax ID number, which can be either a social security number, an individual taxpayer identification number, an adoption taxpayer identification number, or sometimes an employer identification number if there is someone other than an individual, such as an estate or a trust, that is actually the policyholder. Under that, you'll see the policyholder's name. In this case, this is for our hero, John Doe. If there's an account number established internally by the company, then that might be listed here as a reference. Generally speaking, if the field is blank, you don't need to worry about anything that may or may not have been on there. It is required by the IRS if the company is issuing more than one Form 1099 for the same person. Then you might see multiple account. If you see multiple versions of this form, then you should see a separate account number for each version. So let's start with box 1, which is the gross long-term care benefits paid. This will generally be everything that was paid out under a long-term care policy except for accelerated death benefits. So these are they can be paid out on a per diem basis, any other periodic basis, or on a reimbursed basis. A per diem basis indicates that the payments were made based on a daily rate, usually, without regard to actual costs. A reimbursed basis means that the proceeds were actually paid to reimburse costs that came out of pocket from the cost of long-term care. It is important to note that the payer is not required to determine whether or not any amounts in box 1 are taxable or not taxable. That's a taxpayer's responsibility. So that is incumbent on you to complete this or enter this information on IRS Form 8853 and then determine the taxable amount, if any, of the benefits that were paid. In box 2, that's accelerated death benefits, generally under a life insurance contract or on either to or on behalf of an insured who has been certified as either terminally ill or chronically ill. So this would also include any amounts paid by a viatical settlement provider for the sale or the assignment of a death benefit under a life insurance contract. Now, the IRS has very specific definitions of all of these terms. Accelerated death benefits are any amounts that are paid under a life insurance contract for an insured individual who is terminally or chronically ill. A chronically ill individual, by IRS definition, is someone who has been certified on an annual basis by a licensed healthcare practitioner as one of the following. A, being unable to perform without substantial assistance from another person at least 2 of the basic daily living activities for at least 90 days due to a loss of functional capacity. The basic daily living activities are defined as eating, toileting, being able to use the toilet on your own, transferring, meaning moving from a chair to a bed, from a sofa to a chair, things of that nature, bathing, dressing, or maintaining your continence. So if an individual is not able to do at least 2 of those things, then they would be considered a chronically ill individual. And the other requirement under B would be requiring substantial supervision to protect that person from threats to health and safety due to a severe cognitive impairment or decline. So in other words, a licensed health professional has to be able to state in writing that a person meets one of those 2 conditions, and they would be considered to be chronically ill. A terminally ill individual is someone that has been certified by a physician, not a licensed healthcare practitioner, but a physician, as having an illness or a physical condition that can reasonably be expected to result in death within 24 months or less after certification. So those are the 2 conditions under which accelerated death benefits may be paid. Generally, you'll see this on a life insurance policy. In box 3, you'll see whether or not those proceeds were issued either under per diem or under a reimbursed amount as addressed in box 1. So it is important to note that you should not see amounts completed for both box 1 and box 2. So I put these here for illustrative purposes. In this case, this would indicate that John Doe received $10,000 of gross long-term care benefits paid. Usually that would be without this because it does not include accelerated death benefits paid under a life insurance policy. So it should be one or the other. It probably is not going to be both, but I put that there for illustrative purposes just so that you could see that. So underneath this section, you'll see the insured's taxpayer ID number. So because John Doe is both the policyholder and the insured, you'll see his information in here. And you probably would not see a copy C, which is issued separately if the policyholder and the insured are 2 different people. In box 4, it is an optional field, but if it's checked, it means that this was a qualified contract as defined by the IRS. And the IRS defines qualified contract in one of two categories. For contracts issued before 1997, a long-term care contract is generally considered to be qualified if it met the state law requirements for long-term care insurance contracts when it was issued, and if the contract has generally not been materially changed. For any contract issued after 1996, it is considered a qualified long-term care insurance contract if it meets certain requirements as outlined in the Internal Revenue Code, specifically Section 7702B that covers the tax treatment of long-term care contracts. It also includes a provision that the insured must be considered a chronically ill individual in order for those proceeds to be receive qualified tax treatment. Box 5 is an optional field as well. This is where they would check whether the person is chronically ill or terminally ill, and then it would have the most recent date of certification. So in this situation, Acme Care Solutions listed John Doe as a terminally ill person as of 6/1/2023. Presumption is that they receive all the required medical paperwork from his doctor and made that determination. Again, this is an optional field, so you may not see this completed. So if you receive this, you generally should at least take a look at the form instructions for IRS Form 8853. In the form instructions is a matrix chart to help taxpayers determine whether or not they need to complete Form 8853, and if they do complete it, how much, if any, of the proceeds would be subject to tax. Generally, qualified proceeds are not taxable, but there are limitations and restrictions that apply, so that can't be issued as a blanket statement. That's all we have for this video. We've we've written an article that covers this in depth, and you can link to it we'll put a link to it in the show notes, and we'll also put a link to a couple of other references that might help you navigate any tax impacts for your long-term care or accelerated death benefits. If you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. And if you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, comments, or if there's an idea that you have for a future video, please post them in the comment section. Thank you very much and have a great day.